Let me assure you of this. Whatever it is you are going through, you're not alone. What level of awareness do you have about your life and your relationship? What level of awareness do you have about how your mood, your attitude, and your actions affect the people in your life? What level of awareness do you have about how your relationship is going with your wife and what direction? What is the experience? What level of awareness do you have about how you interact with your children and what direction their life is going? And then I would ask you this: are you taking time to intentionally audit that? Because if you're not, you're missing it. You might say, well, F you, Quincy, how do you know that? Because for too long, I was missing it. God has been teaching me something, and I'm getting the opportunity to live through it. And that's great. That's great, because it's a mile marker on the road to say, hey, where are you? And that thing is this. He said, Quincy, whatever it is that you're going through, if you can trust me with eternity, which you have never seen, can you not trust me for the here and now? Can you not trust me for this life? 3 strategies, I would say, on how we made it through. Not only did we make it through, but we made it through and our relationship grew. Welcome back to another episode of Man vs. Marriage. It is I, your humble servant, Quincy Moran, a.k.a. the Q Dog, in the Moran family studio with my lovely wife, and we're excited to be back with you for another episode. I want to talk to you about adversity, about chaos, about life and how life happens, and how do you handle it? Because we get on this microphone, for 355 or 56 episodes, and we give you tools. We share our life experience. And we do that because we have life going on just like everyone else. And honey, yes, I can hear you chewing the ice in the microphone.
I'm trying not to.
So
you picked up as soon as I had a mouthful of ice and water.
It's all timed out. So that's what we want to talk to you about today. Let me assure you of this. Whatever it is you are going through, you're not alone. And you may feel like nobody else is going through this. You may feel like, why does this always happen to me? You may feel like the scenario is like, that feeling like, here we go again.
Yep, the other shoe's going to drop.
Yep. And then you sit and wait for the next thing that could go wrong. So in a weird way, it's almost like, you may be manifesting those things to go wrong. I don't necessarily know that you are in full, but our mindset does have something to do with it. But very practically, so does how you handle it. And I can tell you this, we have handled it in almost all the wrong ways. And so what we want to do today is we want to give you a peek inside, like a peek behind the curtain, if you will, inside what was going on over the last week to 3 weeks. And then we want to talk to you about how we worked through these situations. And then at the end, we want to give you 3 tools, if you will, on 3 strategies, I would say, on how we made it through. Not only did we make it through, but we made it through and our relationship grew. You agree or disagree?
Agreed.
Okay. And so I want to open up the microphone to you to explain from your vantage point we went on a vacation to Idaho. Outstanding vacation. We got a chance to go and check on Jeannie's parents and spend some time with them. We got to take our youngest with us, which is a really good time. We got to connect.
See the baby.
We got to connect with our niece, our great niece, our nephew, and our other niece, and really just had a wonderful time. And my cousin Shane, who brought me into the industry that I'm in, he used to tell me all the time, and I really didn't know how true it was until I started, getting on into my career. He's like, a week before and a week after vacation, you're no good to anybody.
Right.
Because a week before, you're just thinking about vacation. And the week after,
you just want to go back.
You just want to go back. And I told some people this week when we came back, just quickly to be funny, I said, I actually enjoyed vacation so much that I'm looking to make that my profession. And they laughed. And I laughed, but I was serious. And I don't know how to do that. But someday I will. Because while I'm on vacation, I am still impacting the lives of people, which is what I was made to do. So, honey, go ahead and set the story up. I know there's some things that we want to talk about, some events that came on. And do you want me to cover just a high level of what those scenarios were just in name, and then you can kind of explain how it goes? You want me to wait?
How far back do you want to go? I mean,
let's
you want
just
to do like the last 3 weeks, since that's pretty much been the busiest part of what's been going on.
Yeah, just like in football, I want to take what the defense gives you. If you want to start with the week and maybe go back to vacation week or go back a couple of weeks, but do you want me to give a bullet point?
No, we'll just go back.
Okay, go ahead.
So the first week of August, we're dating the podcast, sorry. We had, our youngest was in her right before that, we had a graduation for an airman, who we went down to go spend some time with. We came up that next week. Our daughter was in finals, getting ready to come home. Cough button. From her summer school at college. And then we had a 24-hour turnaround from the time that we picked her up, got her home, unpack, repack, get her ready for a return to college while getting ready to go on a flight to go see my parents for a week. Came back from my parents, had another 24-hour, not even a 24-hour turnaround. We got up the next morning. We had a couple of things to do. We had an appointment to get her down to, so we left to get her back down to college a day early. We spent the evening with her, had a great time, and then dropped her off the following day, had our check-in from our vacation, which was, there was some hiccup in there. And then the week after vacation, so that's kind of what started this particular week. So we had, in the last 3 weeks, our 2 autistic babies, adults, have not been sleeping solid. Because from what we're figuring, there's a lot of inconsistency in routine. There's a lot of people in our house, but there's also changes in work schedule, changes in school schedule. Dad and I were gone for a week. Quincy's work schedule prior to that, I would say in the last, since the tail end of summer or beginning of summer to now, has just been more travel than normal. But he's in that part of his industry where everything is being prepped for what's coming, and everything that's current is getting shut down to move forward to the next phase. So there's always a lot of travel in this time frame. But for those two, anytime one of us is gone more than normal, or anytime both of us are gone, which we've had a couple of trips where we've both been gone a few days and then we were gone for a week. Our youngest, in the whole summertime between July and August, was gone for a few days, home for a few days, gone for a few days, home for a few days. And now she's gone again. And this is the probably going to be the longest stint since she's left, because she'll be coming home to do her duty stuff. But then for the 2, I just think it's so much up and down and inconsistency that it's made them off kilter. So we've had to make some adjustments with medicines and make some adjustments with scheduling to try and calm them down a little. It's not that they're being bad. It's not that they're doing anything that's really like, I don't know, aggressive. It's just they're not sleeping, which makes them grumpy. It makes them irritable. It makes our life a little bit difficult because if I'm not sleeping and I'm the adult on shift, I'm tired. I'm grumpy. I'm going to be a pain in the butt. I'm going to be the belligerent one because I want to sleep. Plus, I have 3 deadlines coming up in the next 2.5 months. I'm behind as far as my own personal deadlines. You've had stuff going on with work, changes that are taking place. You had a car accident in the middle of all that. Just not our normal chaos. It's been a little bit more, I think, in the last couple of weeks. But then when we got back from vacation, we're like, okay, this week things should be slowing down. We should be getting back into our routine. We had one plan for the weekend for the whole family to go down and see our daughter at her school doing her ROTC thing, and then we should be back to normal. That's the plan in my head. What actually happened was we got her back down to college. We dropped her off. On our way back from dropping her off, which, note to self, probably not the wisest time for me to have a check-in right after we drop off the kid. I'm a little emotional after that transition happens, but
hey, hindsight's 2020. But I thought we had a great check-in.
We did, but it was still, I could have handled that a little bit better. But our check-in, we had a little hiccup during our vacation. We have an agreement when we go on vacation, especially when we go to visit my family. Our time together is supposed to be initiated and planned by me because it's my family, it's my situation. I'm the one that gets uncomfortable being in somebody else's home. It's just something that we have decided. And if it's not going to happen, it is up to me to have the conversation to say, okay, this is not going to work right now. Can we rain check? Whatever. I didn't do any of those things. I wasn't thinking about it, which I know pisses Quincy off because I wasn't thinking about it. But fact of the matter was, I was focused on being with my parents, being present to what was going on with them, spending as much time in the moment as I could, and then spending time with our youngest because that was the last bit I was going to get of one-on-one time of just stuff that we normally do during summer, So I was really honing in on that. And it's not that Quincy is less important. It just I wasn't thinking of intimacy at that point. I was trying to just spend all of my time focused on those people. Fault in the matter was I should have said something to him that's where my priority needed to be. Not that he wasn't a priority, but that this just wasn't working out that way for this time frame. So we had a heated check-in on the way home. We got through it. We managed to work through it. The following day went well with the family. It was a little bit of a hiccup because we had a couple of home managerial things that we had to take care of. It stemmed from a few weeks prior. We this time of year we have a family meeting. We go over everybody's schedules. We go over, babysitting for the 2 with autism so that I can work, Quincy can work. If we want to go somewhere, we try to pre-plan enough that everybody who has significant others or friends they want to hang out with or church things, different events, that we make sure we're all on the same page and we're all covering for each other. And that conversation didn't go the way it was supposed to. One person was unavailable. One person chose not to be available, which stemmed a whole other conversation. And when we went on vacation, there was some miscommunication amongst the girls. And when we got home, we had to have a conversation of when you say you're going to be somewhere or do something and something better comes up, that's too bad because you've already committed yourself. So we had to go through that whole spiel again. And we had to have another family conversation to go over yet again changes in schedule, changes in routine, all that sort of stuff. Monday started a whole nother system of things. Quincy was working from home that day. It's his first day back from vacation. I don't have all the details as to what happened. It's not my business. All I can tell you is there were lots of fires that you were trying to put out, and one of them was a lot bigger than the others, and it just completely dampened your mood, put you in a funky headspace. So the week kind of started that way. I started off behind the 8 ball because I'm behind on my deadlines. I'm not getting enough sleep. We had just gotten back home. These two decided that they were not going to sleep as much as they normally do because we're back. So it's our turn to take over the non-sleeping, which kind of made both of us just off all week. You want to take it from there and kind of fill in?
Sure.
How it went?
I'll jump in there. And just one thing that I want to shore up something real quick. You know, in the part just talking about like when you were talking about not considering, not thinking about, you know, that, not thinking about our agreement, not thinking about, you know, however you want to phrase it. You mentioned that it pisses me off. It really doesn't. It doesn't piss me off. It hurts. And there's a big difference there. I mean, you can, you know, being hurt can morph into being mad, but it's more of a hurtful type thing. And so I don't know. I wanted to lay that out there because it is still possible for me to get my feelings hurt. Even though I'm a man, you know what I mean, Mick? I'm a man. It's possible. But the lesson there and the lesson that went through there, I think this time, not only did I handle it more appropriately because I really had to search myself. You know, we did get heated on it, but that was the only part of the check-in, in my opinion, that was heated.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you were good enough to let me say my piece and say where it was, and then we sat silent for a minute or two, and then maybe it was just a minute, felt like a longer time, and then we moved on. So I can't say enough about what the check-in means to us. And hey, for the first time in like 15, 16 weeks, we missed our check-in because we were distracted by vacation. And then I remembered it. And so we did it that very day. So we were a day late.
We got some ahas on the check-in after our trip too, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. And so why does it matter? Like, why do we give you the context? Why do we talk you through what we were? I mean, you don't know us. You don't know our life except for what we put out there. Maybe you're just jumping into the show today and you're like, why do I listen? Why am I listening to these people talk about their life experience? Because even though we have, you know, 8 kids that are mostly adults, the next couple weeks, they will all be officially adults.
Don't remind me.
Maybe everybody doesn't have, 3 of their 8 kids who have autism to varying degrees, or 2 kids that are, 2 adult children that are permanently disabled. Maybe your life's not exactly the same, but the fact is that we are all experiencing life, and we all have things that we go through. We all have good times. We all have challenges. My mother used to tell me, son, life is peaks and valleys. And she was mostly right. There are seasons to life, to everything. There are seasons, and times change, and you grow and you develop. What I want to impress upon you is that even though our situations aren't exactly the same, we're not much different than you, the listener. Life is really going on for us. Life is really happening for us. Life is happening. And we get the opportunity, we might even create the opportunity to use the tools that we teach you on this program. They're not just a bunch of tools that, we put out on a program and then say, okay, that's good for you, but not good for me. It's how we endeavor to live our life. It's what built our relationship into what it is today. In yesterday's check-in, we definitely had some ahas, and we are looking at how our relationship is growing, how it is transforming, how it is getting stronger, which doesn't make sense to me, but it is. I mean, we're growing, we're getting more and more connected. You speak up if it's not true.
No, you're telling the truth.
Okay. Thank you. But here's the thing, and this is what it all comes down to. What level of awareness do you have about your life and your relationship? What level of awareness do you have about how your mood, your attitude, and your actions affect the people in your life? What level of awareness do you have about how your relationship is going with your wife and what direction? What is the experience? What level of awareness do you have about how you interact with your children and what direction their life is going? And then I would ask you this: are you taking time to intentionally audit that? Because if you're not, you're missing it. You might say, well, F you, Quincy, how do you know that? Because for too long, I was missing it. Jeannie over there on the screen, she was missing it. We, as a couple, were missing it in our relationship, and we were missing it as parents. So we're bringing this to you in order to dynamically change the direction of your life and your relationship if you are willing. That's like one of the most important pieces to our process and what we do is, what is your willingness to be less selfish? What is your willingness to change? What is your willingness to grow? And so we just in preparing for the show, we talked about like high level, what are the areas that were affected this week, just this week, and here they are. So, there was work, there was health, there was my career. And I'm not saying my career was affected in a sense where it's like they gave me the talk, hey buddy, you're going to have to go find something else to do. No, they're in the line of work that I'm in like a sales role. And there are opportunities you create, and then there are things that go on that have nothing to do with you. And things can go really bad. You do your best to be a resource. You do your best to assist your customers. You do everything within your power and your organization's power to make it right. And sometimes you still fail. And it's outside of your control. That's no different than life. That's no different than your relationship or your marriage, your parenting. But it's how you handle that. What level of resiliency do you employ to bounce back? You got to take a minute to burn through it. Matter of fact, my boss called and asked me, how you doing, man? I was kind of put off a little bit because he kept pressing in like, I'm here if you need me. How can I? And I actually called him back later and I said, hey, and I was in the car with Jeannie when I did it. And I was like, you have me concerned. Do you know something I don't know? Because you were really, pressing in to say, hey man, are you good? Are you all right? And he's like, yeah, well, something of this particular magnitude is really difficult to handle. And I want to make sure you're good. I'm like, okay, well, you're right. And I appreciate it. and it's typically people call me when they need a boost. They need to be encouraged. And I'll encourage you and I'll boost you up and I won't be faking it. It's the real deal. And I have to do the same to myself. Sometimes Jeannie will hear me in the room boosting myself up.
Yeah.
It happens because I've got to change the atmosphere. But this situation was so heavy and it was piled on and piled on and piled on. And it wasn't just work, but it was life. And so I'm going to tell you in a few minutes, what did I do to change the direction of the current? But we had work, health, business, autism. It was just out of sorts. We had some challenging things going on financially. And listen, I'm not going to give you any details, but there's been something looming on top of Jeannie and I. We had someone we thought was a friend. We invested. I did something stupid and leveraged, part of my 401k to invest in a business because somebody showed me what this thing could look like. And I have a responsibility to provide for my disabled kids that won't be able to provide for themselves. And this person absolutely turned out to be a garbage human being. And our position is they stole from us hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're out. And that's looming on me. It's like, what am I supposed to do about this? And there are things that I can't even cut ties fully with this yet. And so that is there. And, some of the challenges in my professional life are there. Things that happen because it's the industry. There are challenges with parenting. You're going to find, if you're not to the point yet where you have teenagers, get in touch with me, get in touch with us, and let us pray with you and coach you through. I'm not saying it's going to be terrible, because it doesn't have to be.
It wasn't all. It's not all bad. They're figuring out their place in life is what it amounts to. We have teenagers and we have young 20s, and this is the part where, jokingly, whenever we talk about our 20s, I was stupid until about 25, 26, and then finally something kind of clicked, and it's like, I guess this adult thing means that I actually have to be responsible and do these other things. And my mom might have been right about a few things.
Yes, about a lot. And when I'm saying that, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying what James Dobson said, which is that, when your kids turn 13, they become demon possessed. So you should lock them away until they're 19, then let them out of the bucket, which he said tongue in cheek, which it was hilarious the way he put it. But the fact is that when your kids when they hit that teen era, and maybe even a little earlier these days, they start going through some chemical changes, like their body is changing. And so you are going to be stretched as a parent. You're going to have to grow. You have to evolve. Mm-hmm. And so those things are happening. Then you have adult children that won't always make decisions that you think are the best. And that happens. And so it's important for you to grow in that area, to say, okay, kind of like God's point of view. You've tried this a few times. You keep trying. I think this time I'm going to let you fall flat on your nose. Come back. I got you. But those things happen. So there are those situations with adult children. And those things were coming up this week. And it was there. In this decade, we've changed the word problems to challenges. It's more corporate. We're having some challenges. I've adapted the word. I use it all the time. Anyway, then there were some challenges that come along in the faith walk. You all know, I've told you multiple times, I live it out loud. I'm a Christian. And funny thing about Christians is our theologies don't always line up. Okay? That's just the long and short of it. And there are people that are dear to me that my theology doesn't line up with theirs. And part of this is pretty sacred in their life. And so I started feeling the pressure and the fear of maybe losing some of those relationships based on some of these differences. And and I think it weighed on me in a way because I already had some of these very heavy situations going on. And that goes back to like an episode where we talked about, Coach Rita taught us to pour out the cup. If you're overwhelmed, the next drop of water, which is not a lot of water, it can be enough to send the rest of the water, or a lot of the water, over the cup, and now you're overwhelmed. And so, there were things that I had the privilege, when I was over in Idaho, of meeting a great young man. And he wanted to hear some things that I had to say. And I was so thankful for that. And he asked me about getting closer to God. He asked me about how do you take How do you handle these burdens when they get so heavy? What do I do? I don't know what to do. And I was like, that is a great question. So let's talk through it. And so through that process, those words came back to me. And I appreciate when my words come back to me because it's a reminder for me, hey, this is how you handle it. Practice what you're preaching. And so, about midweek, and it's interesting because we traditionally have a lot going on and it doesn't really show through because I like to continue to move. And there were people that told me this week, man, things must have been really tough because of this. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't handle it as well as I should. Or maybe it's a blessing because they see that even someone like me that works hard, develops, does my best to be successful, I'm still human. And people need to know that, or it seems like, well, what you're doing is not attainable, Q. It's just not. And there are times in my life where I have not allowed people to see the more vulnerable side. So, it was like midweek. And I was like, you know what, Lord, something here's got to shift. I'm in the mindset of things are happening for me. They're not happening to me. And then I went back to the conversation that I had with this young man and I said, hey, you can actually exchange your burden. What does Jesus tell us? His yoke is easy and his burden is light. And God's been teaching me something. This is not an Ink Pastor episode, but I just want to share this with you. God has been teaching me something, and I'm getting the opportunity to live through it. And that's great. That's great because it's a mile marker on the road to say, hey, where are you? And that thing is this. He said, Quincy, whatever it is that you're going through, if you can trust me with eternity, which you have never seen, can you not trust me for the here and now? Can you not trust me for this life? And just in my particular walk, when I get those kinds of things, when I get those kinds of words or challenges, I understand that at some point I'm going to get the opportunity to walk it out. And I'm thankful for that because then I get to bring those types of things to my family. I get to bring them to my friends and I get to share them and we get to build each other up in our faith, in our life daily. The bonus is I get to bring them to this podcast and share them with you. So before we get into these strategies, if you will, it sounds so businesslike. Before we get into them, I want to go back to this and ask you this question again because I don't want it to get lost. Are you auditing your relationships and what the direction of those relationships are? I left the silence there on purpose because I want you to take a moment to think about it. I want you to take a moment to consider it. Are you auditing how your actions and your attitude and the effort that you put forward, are you auditing how that affects the people around you? Namely, the people in your inner circle, which I pray is your wife and kids. Or wife, if you're listening, if it is your husband and your kids. Maybe your close family, maybe your other close friends, maybe your tight, colleagues at work. Are you looking at that? Because I believe it is a healthy thing for you to do. And then are you doing the check-in? Are you doing an audit with those relationships to check and see how they are doing? Because if you're not, I'll say this again, you are missing out. These are opportunities for you to deepen your relationship. I hope if you have faith in God that you are doing the same in your faith walk as well. auditing that relationship. What level of awareness do you have? What is the direction it's going? You must know that. In all this, there was that point where the feeling of being a bit lost comes in. And Jeanne and I talked about this in our check-in. I said, hey, look, there are times where all of us feel lost. How do I know that? Because I check in with people. Now, if you are walking the opposite direction of what God has for you and you are feeling lost, that's a no-brainer. It's because you are. You're not walking towards the calling. So you should feel lost. You should feel disconnected because you are. What's the beauty of that? You can change that immediately in this very moment, now. But there are other times when you are walking according to God calling you that direction, and you're doing the things that He is calling you to do, and you feel lost or a little lonely or a lot lonely or hopeless or helpless. And I want to challenge you and say that those types of moments are better for you than you realize, because that's where your faith is being built. That's where you are being forged. And I stick to this. The you 12 months from now needs you to be successful in what it is you are going through. So know that there is a purpose in what it is you're going through. And you might say, Quincy, how do you know that? Because what Jeanne and I have gone through over the last 16 years, going on 16 years, I've been able to look back and say, if I had not have gone through X, I would not be able to help this particular person. Without the experience, without knowing what the feeling is, without knowing the feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, and on and on and on. So the Quincy Moran of 16 years ago, I was counting on me to make it through. And you don't have to be perfect at it, but you do have to be committed to continuing to move forward with what you know you need to do. And if you don't know, that's where your circle of community comes in. Who are the people that you spend the time with? Who are the people that you trust and value that can help build you? Who can you be vulnerable with that won't go and spread your business? Those things are important. But the you from a year from now, the you 5 years from now, the you 10 years from now needs these experiences that you are walking through, because there are people in those times that you will be able to help. And Jeanne and I are a product of that because of what Coach Rita went through, because of her relationship, because of the trials and the tribulations and the growth that she had to go through. We're here because of what she endured, how her faith was built. And there is a ripple effect that comes along with that. And so for us, that is why we present our journey. That's why we talk through what we've gone through. We want to show you, like I say, a peek from behind the curtain, and say that just because we have a podcast doesn't mean that things are perfect for us. Just because your preacher is a preacher doesn't mean he or she doesn't have adversity. Doesn't mean that things are not going wrong in their life. It happens. Whoever your boss is, they're still human. Your parents, whoever else is in authority around you, we all have life going on. And our journey can help you if you're willing. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? There's one piece left to talk about, and that's, to top all this off, we are now stepping into the arena of being paid to counsel people. So that's there's some big things that are going on. And a lot of times when you are stepping into that next arena, life is going to challenge you on it. Is there, like for you, is there anything that I left out, anything you want to talk about before we give them these 3 strategies?
I think you missed some of the reward side of what we're doing, but you can probably discuss that when you go through the strategies.
Go ahead. You can go ahead and talk about it, because I probably will, but I want to make sure that I get what you're looking at too.
Well, I think the biggest part for us in all of this has been the check-in. That has been the most beneficial part. For one, I've been seeing the chiropractor for going on almost 3 years, about 2.5 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently. I did a lot of stress, a lot of tension in my back. I carry everything in my back. All my pregnancies were in my back. So there's a lot of residual effect from multiple births and things of that nature. But in the last 3 visits, he has openly said, not only am I better than what I was, but I don't need to see him except for on a maintenance deal, which is nice because I don't really see him that often anyway. It's like maybe once or twice a month if I need it. But he started noticing that my stress levels are down and the tension is down and my body is responding a lot quicker to treatment now than what it was before. And he kept asking me, what did you change? He's like, are you exercising more now? Are you, did you change your diet? Are you working out? What are you doing? And I was like, I mean, I changed my diet a little bit, but nothing substantial. But then when Quincy and I got to talking about it, when he mentioned the stress, it's like, you know what? But we've been doing the check-ins, and the check-ins have really helped to eliminate some of that stuff for me because I have an out.
You have an outlet.
Yeah, same thing when I talk to my mom and my sister. In my family, it's common for perimenopause and menopause to hit, and it hits young and it hits hard. And both my mom and my sister have had to do treatments and things like that. My grandmother had to do the same thing. And I told Quincy years ago, I refuse to go on any kind of hormone treatment just because it's not to knock anybody's decision to do it. My family has a history of cancers related to hormone therapy. So I have chosen, and I have helped my children to choose not to walk that path if we can avoid it, because the risk is not worth it down the line. And my mom and I had this conversation while we were up there, and she kept saying, she asked me about the doctors and when I go, and I don't go very often. And when I do, the last 2 times I've been, the very first thing they tell me is, well, you're at the age of bordering between perimenopause and menopause. And, it's not uncommon to have depression. It's not uncommon to need anxiety medication. It's not uncommon for all these things. And they kept wanting to put me on stuff. And it's like, first of all, I have 2 autistic adults in my house that I take care of. I can't be on something that makes me not feel. I trust my instincts. I have to rely on my instincts. I have to rely on my emotions to tell me what we're doing. And the other side of that was, there's a lot of women that I've talked to, including my mom and my sister, that it's just you're chaotic because you can't manage your own stress. Your hormones are all over the place. You're pissed off one minute, you're crying the next, you're excited the next. Like, you just don't have control. And we hadn't really talked about that stuff until we really started getting to the check-ins. And I finally had the conversation with Quincy to say, I don't know what emotions are mine, what emotions I should be having. Like, should I be reacting this way to the situation, or is it just my levels are going haywire and this is the outcome? I don't know what that is. And it helps to be able to talk through that, because I don't feel like I'm losing my mind going through something. And two, if it is an emotional reaction that I should be having, like letting go of our kid to go to college and having to deal with the fact that it's not just the empty nest syndrome so much as I have been the person in control or the person that has protected and been involved in every aspect. And now I'm just supposed to lay it all down and be like, okay, go on your own and do your thing. That doesn't compute real well in any aspect. But the emotions that come along with it's a grieving process on top of I'm extremely proud. I'm extremely happy. But these two contradict each other. So it's been very helpful when I talked to my mom and I told her, I was like, but Quincy and I talked through these things. You would have thought it was a foreign topic. Like we don't discuss those things. And my mom's not the only person. I have a couple of friends who went through it and they were like, the only aspect of this part of their life that they discussed with their spouse is the fact that your libido changes. It goes from your 30s into your 40s, women hit this peak where it's like we want more than what we normally want. And then you get to a point where your body's just like, I can do without. I'm good. I don't have that reaction. Once in a while I do, but because you and I have an agreement and we have, I guess for lack of a better word, I'll say tools, but we have our own commitments to each other that say, I don't get to opt out just because I might be having a day. Now, it doesn't mean I don't get to ever. It just means if you came to me and said, I need, your need trumps whatever my body is going through. I have to work through the process of, but my husband needs something from me. So I'm going to lay this aside. And there are things that we can do to help stir that up for me. So it's not service. It is, I'm giving you something that you need willingly. And at the same time, I'm going to get something out of it. So it doesn't cause friction. It doesn't cause a wedge. A lot of people in our age bracket in relationships and marriages, this is what causes the downfall down the line is they don't discuss need versus want. They don't discuss for you, this is one of your love languages. This is an extremely important part of what we have together. And it's not a job. It's not a job. It's what I want to do. It's what I have chosen to do because you're my person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been very interesting to hear other people's conversations about how this part of their life went. And I'm thinking, I don't feel all of that. Now, I'm not fully into the whole gambit of things yet, but I still don't feel, I mean, my mom and my sister started in their early 30s. I've just recently started maybe in the last year or so where it's noticeable that I'm going through some changes there. But I didn't have all the same stuff that they had. I mean, I know I went through depression, but my depression, majority of it stemmed from what we had gone through, not my body shifting gears. And I can say that because we had Rita who helped us process that. But that's been a huge game changer. Like in this last week, having the check-in and having the rules in place that we have helps us with the communication side of things. Because we know that we're going to talk about this later, because we know this is something that's going to come up in a few days, do I want to wait a few days before I discuss it? Or do I want to get it out on the table now? And when we have our check-in, we can touch base and see where we're at. It gives us a different level, I think.
Yeah, I think the dividing line for me is, was I able to reconcile it within myself? And if I was, then I'll take it to the check-in. If I'm not able to reconcile it and there is resentment that's starting to build up and there's heartburn between us, then I have to honor our commitment to say something first.
Well, I think It makes a big difference only because, and you don't have to do the check in the same way we do. We took what somebody else did and they taught us, and we revamped it to fit our scenario. Um, we don't do scores and things like that, but we do discuss other than just our marriage. It's like, okay, how are you as a professional? Where are you with your job? Where are you with,
Mm-hmm.
the podcast? Where am I with my writing? Where do we see ourselves going? Are you on task this week or did you struggle?
Yeah.
And it helps to talk about those things. Where are you with, being a son or a daughter? Are you keeping in contact with your parents? Are you staying on top of the things that we've discussed? Those are the conversations we have, like my parents needing a little extra in the last few weeks and us discussing, okay, moving forward, we're in that part of our life where we may need to go spend more time with them. We may need to make more trips. We may need to be a little more present than we are now. And what does that look like? And how do we feel about that? Because neither one of us wants to carry guilt of not being able to do when we know full well we can.
Yeah.
We talk about friendships, we talk about, different aspects of our life. How are you as a mom? How are you as a dad? We're dealing with different areas of life with our kids. How are you dealing with that? How do you feel about it? What is your thought moving forward? What do we think we should do? What's our role now? Where do we put ourselves? Do we talk about this subject with them now, or do we just let them kind of do their own thing and watch from the outside and wait? It varies on everything that we deal with in life. The beauty of it is we're talking about it. So it's not like we just sent our youngest to college and both of us are silently dealing with the loss or the growing up of a child or stepping into a new role. We're talking about it with each other and saying, this really sucked. I didn't like it. I do better. I thought it was hilarious when I had this aha moment. I thought it was so stupid, but at the same time, I thought it makes total sense. When we take her down and we drop her off, it hurts me. It hurts me worse because I feel like I am abandoning my kid and leaving my kid with a bunch of people I don't know, I don't trust. And what if somebody does something to her? I'm this far away from, like, it's all these guilt things that go through my head of she is my responsibility. But when she comes home and she drives away and goes to college, I'm sad, but it's like, okay, she's going to go and she's going to come back. It is the weirdest aha moment for me, but it took me a second to realize because for her entire life, I took her to school and I dropped her off. And when something happened, they called mom. Somebody said something, somebody did something, they forgot something, they have an appointment, whatever it was, they called me. And I'm always right within a certain, time frame to get there.
All right.
I'm not that anymore, but I'm not dropping her anymore. Now she's going off and doing her own thing. And it's like, okay, when you need me, you come back. When you want to come home and visit, you come back. I'll be here. It's just a different dynamic. But it took us talking through those things for me to realize, okay, this is why this hurts me this way. This is why I feel okay. So now we're working on how do I make it better? How do I work on it and, get past it, process through it? Because this is not the only time this is going to happen.
Right. Right. And I agree with you. I want to, since you started, that was my third strategy. You started there, which is totally fine for me. These are in no particular order. Actually, it is pretty good to do them in the order I have them written, but that's okay. I'll start with number 3. We tried various versions of the check-in, and Jeannie's right. You don't have to do it our way. I recommend you do it the way that it works.
Autism is autisming.
Yeah, it's fine.
She's excited. Sorry.
I recommend you do it the way that it works. Just go with what works. And we have tested many, and I will tell you this as well, is that I was coached by this. I don't care if it sounds crazy. I guess I do because I just gave you that for that caveat. But in the moment, I was coached on how to do this by the Holy Spirit because we were doing the same old check-in, which is, Well, how are you? Oh, I'm thinking pretty good. Okay, well, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. Well, sex or money or blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And there was rarely a connection there. And I felt like in the moment, it was like, hey, Quincy, I want you to be a little more specific, Mr. Intentional. I want you to be more specific. I want you to ask, how is Jeannie the woman doing? I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I want you to ask, like, how's Jeannie the wife? And this download came. And in the middle of doing this check-in, I kind of stopped Jeannie a little bit. I was like, hold on just a minute. And so I wrote these things down. I was like, okay, this is going to be a little different than we're used to. So then I went down the line. How is Jeannie the woman? And then it evolved a little bit. And it's like, how's Jeannie the woman? And how is your faith? How is your faith walk? Because candidly, our faith used to be a whole lot more connected together. And so that's one of our things. And one of my things in the momentum is that our faith would come and be aligned again. I'm not saying that, Jeannie's, not a Christian or anything like that. It's just our faith together is not as connected as it was when we first got together. There's any number of reasons that can happen, being jaded by, the organized church or whatever that is. Anyway, let me progress here. So how's Jeannie the woman? How is Jeannie in her faith? How is Jeannie's health? So now, instead of just being ambiguous about it, I'm causing her to think more intentionally about, oh crap, how the heck am I as a woman?
Well, and yeah, and you actually have to consider all aspects. Like how are you doing? I'm fine. I'm good. I'm dealing.
That's all
But
surface level.
but when you say how is Jeannie the mom, it's like, okay, well, this week I had this conversation with this one and it was really good. It was a really connected conversation. It was something that I wasn't expecting. Or I had this going on this week and you know, I'm button heads with this one and what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
It makes you look deeper at what's going on and how you're handling it, and it gives us the opportunity to say, okay, do you want my advice?
Mm-hmm.
Do you I could help you with something. Are you okay with me saying so? It gives us the opportunity. One, we're using the other tools. We're using our communication tools with each other to say, okay, do I have permission? Because if honest truth, if it is something that I am heated about and I haven't processed through all of it, if he doesn't ask permission and he gives advice, it could blow up in his face. Oh, the freaking mosquitoes back. But if he asks me in the moment, do I have your permission to give you my input on this? I have the choice to say, no, I'm not really ready to hear it. I still need to get past the anger. Or I have the opportunity to say, you know what? Go for it. If it will help me get through it right now, I'm willing. But it gives us the opportunity to just see where we can better help each other and fill in, because you don't realize when you ask your spouse, what do you need? How many times Quincy has asked me, what do you need from me? I have no freaking clue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going through this. I don't know how to go through it. I don't know what you could do for me. I have no idea how to do this. But going through the check-in, now it's becoming more obvious to say, this is what's going on. This is what I'm dealing with. And then both of us go, okay, do I have permission? Or it will be as simple as, I feel like this is what God's showing us is going on. I feel like we need to discuss this, or maybe we need to look at this. And it just opens us up to say, okay, so this is what I need from you. And it helps us identify that as we're going through these new phases, or I don't even know if you want to call it a phase. It's just these new opportunities in life that are coming up. And it's like, okay, how do we do this?
Yeah, it's the next leg in the journey, if you will. And that's good. It's the next evolution of what life looks like. And so how does this all connect? I asked you a hard question in the beginning, audience. And it's, are you auditing Are you aware? And it has really, I was about to say forced us. It's really coached us into being more aware. So let me get through the list before we get on another rabbit trail. How is Jeannie the woman? How is your faith? How is your health? And then I ask this: how's Jeannie the wife? How's Jeannie the mother? How's Jeannie the daughter? How's Jeannie the friend? And then how's Jeannie the professional? And we utilize that particular lineup, and it has changed our relationship. After 25 years, it has changed our relationship. And I'm here to tell you, it will change your relationship dramatically. And look, you don't just have a guy over here telling you about it. My wife is right there on camera talking to you about the difference this has made in her life. I can't even take credit for it. I believe the Lord put it on my heart. And we've been faithful to do what he's challenged us to do, even to the point of her going to the chiropractor and him saying, hey, whatever you're doing, it's doing great. And look, she didn't let the cat out of the bag. She did change her diet a little bit. It's worse. I'm looking at lemon heads right here over in this container. So her diet hasn't gotten better, but something here is allowing her to audit where she is. It's creating awareness about where she is. And now we're no longer having these surface level conversations. We're actually having intimate discussions. And yes, there will be times where the discussion gets sideways. There will be times where you argue.
We have.
There will be times where you struggle with one another. But through this process, you will be able to pause it and not remain emotionally charged.
Well, and it gives you the opportunity, even if you don't resolve the issue, you're coming back for another check-in in 7 days. So you have the opportunity to say, okay, I know we talked about this. I know it was kind of difficult. Where are we now? Are we still fuming on this? Have we gotten a little bit better? Is there something else that we need to discuss? It just gives you the opportunity so that you're not letting something happen, having the explosion, and then waiting until the next explosion to come back to that one and start talking it out. It's like it gives us the opportunity to just continually check on, okay, there was some hurt here last week.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still hurt? Are we still going through this? Are there things that were left unsaid? Did you, because as you process through it and you start playing these scenarios in your head, these conversations in your head, did it get worse? Did it get better? If you're not talking to your spouse, whatever's playing in your head, I guarantee you is going to make it worse because you're going to start making scenarios happen in your head.
Well, and to your credit, we had a rough discussion about something that you and I just don't necessarily line up all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back to you like 4 weeks later, and said, hey, because at the end of this check-in, we say, is there anything unresolved, anything else that we haven't covered? And it was like, hey, I'm still having a hard time with this. And here's why. And Jeannie, she took it. She's able to take it without getting defensive. And she can give me some feedback as well. And I might not like the feedback.
Well, and it helped us out because we had a conversation that was, we don't see eye to eye on it. It's it's hurtful to me. It's not intentional, but it is hurtful to me. And it was something that we couldn't see eye to eye on. And I said, okay, you have this person who has a very good marriage. We trust them wholeheartedly.
Bring a neutral.
Talk to her. Ask her. Give her the scenario and see what she would do. See what her response is. And if she has something different to say, we'll talk it through. And we agreed he would talk to her, and then we got together and the three of us talked, and it came out to, this is how she sees it. This is how we see it. This is what you can do. And she gave us ways to not necessarily get rid of it, but make it so that it doesn't hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't force you to have to change everything, but to put things on a level playing ground where it's like, okay, I can still be this person for this person, but I can do it with another person involved. It's basically not having a third party that makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to end a friendship, but this person makes me really uncomfortable. And so it came out where I don't mind the relationship, but if you're talking or there's a conversation going on, there needs to be a third party involved. There needs to be another set of ears so that things don't go a direction that they shouldn't.
Which they never have.
They never have.
It's been a scenario, just so you understand, where
it's just one of those things that
for many years back, dating back to when I was a early teenager, there's a friend of the family, and I've been a spiritual, like a spiritual, I don't want to say spiritual mentor, but a spiritual authority, if you will. And so that's what it is. There's no impropriety or nothing.
I'm not implying any of that. What I'm saying is there are friendships that you might have in your marriage that make people uncomfortable, that make your spouse uncomfortable. At one point, and this was why this was a concern for me, because at one point, Quincy had a very close friend. I was close friends with the wife, but the husband and I had a clash, and it ended up being a huge problem, and we had to sever a friendship over it. I felt guilty because I felt like I had ended a friendship because it hurt me, and I didn't want to hurt you by you giving up a friendship. But at the same time, the decision was made between the two of us with our coach. If this is a constant hurt, if this is somebody who's constantly stepping over boundaries, then this person is not okay, because the fact remains, it's us first.
Yeah,
and then everybody else. So it was similar scenario of, how do we approach this? I don't want to end a friendship. I don't want to tell you can't talk to somebody or you can't help guide somebody, but I'm uncomfortable with it.
True.
So we came up with a different pattern, but having the check-in made it where we made the decision to involve somebody else. And then we had the repeat conversation a few weeks later to say, okay, where are we? How do you feel?
And we need to get to wrapping this up, because autism is just it is a wild, it's a wild hen.
She's excited, and it's coming close to time to eat. So,
and it's starting to irritate me a little bit. So I want to give you, I promised you 3. Here are the other 2. Honey, if you have input, feel free. Don't change what you're talking about, but we got to wrap this up pretty soon here. So that was number 3. Number 2 is we communicated. And that can seem like a really ambiguous term, but I had to talk to, when I was going through something that was really difficult, there were some challenges going on with me. I had to communicate that to my wife, first of all, to say, hey, I'm really going through it, and there's some tough stuff going on. And as a matter of fact, I need you. I need some intimacy. I need help to get through this. I need connection is truly what I need, because it's going to help me move through these things. And it was just some really tough things going on. And then the other part of that was, when autism does interfere with your ability to have sex with your spouse, you have to do what we call, you have to make a rain check. And that is another form of communication that says, hey, I know what you need. It still matters to me, but physically or emotionally, I'm just not available for that right now. And in this situation, every intention was there. And after hours and hours of staying up with autism at 2:00 in the morning, Jeannie graciously came in and talked to me about a rain check. I was so exhausted. I did not possess the power to speak. I just looked at her. I blinked a couple times, and I went back to sleep. And I don't think I even moved for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So communication is crucial it's a crucial strategy, because the lack thereof can create some serious issues in your relationship, and those things can multiply extremely fast. So it's important. That's what Jeannie and I have set up. That's some of our non-negotiables that we negotiate sometimes, so that we remain connected. We remain open to one another. And then lastly, and this is technically number one, but lastly, when I was talking to that young man out in Idaho, I just want to remind you a little bit about that conversation. His question was, how do we take these burdens that are so heavy? How do we carry them? And so I was reminded of the conversation. I was reminded of the advice based on my experience that I gave him. I was reminded of what the word talks about. And that is simply this. Jesus tells us that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And I said to this young man, you have to be willing to exchange your burden for his, because there is not a load that is too heavy that he can't carry. It doesn't exist. I said, if you have to do it and put physical motion behind it and say, Lord, I am offering you my burden and I accept yours because your yoke is easy and your burden is light. I want you to get into practice doing that, making a physical motion so that you can make an exchange. And so I did that. As crazy as that might sound, I did that because I want to live by the words that I speak. And it really, really lightened the burden. I was still struggling, but I was much lighter. And it doesn't always happen right away, like every time you do it. But you have to continue to exchange your burden for his, because why do I say that? Does he start to give it back to you? No. We get in a place of fear and then we take it back and we have to control it and we have to own it. And then we project all this crap on the people around us because we are so heavily burdened with what is going on in life. So you have to continually audit where you are, because it's like, oh Lord, I'm sorry, I took that back. After I gave it to you, I took it back and I tried to control it. And so he does offer that to us. He offers that burden, and it doesn't say there's no burden. It just says his burden is lighter than ours. And so we can give that to him. And so I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to employ these strategies in your day-to-day. And if you do that, if you continue to be willing to evolve in your relationship, if you're willing to build this trust with your spouse, you are going to see a transformation in your relationship. And it has to do with exchanging your burden, opening the lines of communication, being intentional, and then doing the check-in. And I'm here to tell you that is going to absolutely change your life. It's not one of those scenarios, to some of my favorite listeners, that'll say, I tried it once and it didn't work. I've been there. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
I've started a diet on Monday, and on Tuesday was hoping to get on the scale and be down 10 pounds. It doesn't work that way. And it's okay that it doesn't work that way, because we need to be willing to do our part in getting these things to the finish line. So I want to thank you for sticking around. I want to thank you for listening. I want to offer you the opportunity to connect with us directly. The email goes directly to me. At some point, if it ever doesn't go directly to me, I will make you aware of that to the best of my ability. But it's Quincy@MVSMpodcast.com, and that's M like man, V like verse, S like Sam, M like marriage. So man versus marriage podcast.com. So it's Quincy@MVSMpodcast.com. Email me directly there. If this show, if something in this episode has stuck in your heart, if you had an aha moment, if there's anything of value that has helped you, I'm going to ask you to share this show with every single bro. I've been working on that. Yeah, I think this is what I said. Share the program with every single broham. Oh yeah. I love that.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. So make sure that you do that. Would you be willing to leave us a review? Would you be willing to rate the show? And would you be willing to share it? I'm asking you to do that so that we can help more people. And I'm providing you my email address, and you can get right to Jeannie and I, and we can help you through it. And also, like we talked about earlier in the program, we're stepping into the arena of paid counseling. So I'm looking forward to meeting with you guys. There is a lot to come for this program that I'm very excited about. And we may have a business meeting online at some time and just talk about what the future of this program is and how it is going to grow and how it's going to be able to help you as we broaden what it is that we do. Last thing I'll do is invite you to go to quincymoran.com, check out the apparel page, see what we have there, order something, wear it to the gym, wear it in public, and let it be a walking billboard so that other people find the help and the resources that they need, just like you did. We are here for you. So for my lovely wife of going on 26 years, Jeanne Moran, I myself am I messed that up. Let me start that over. What are you laughing at? Let's take two on that. Boop. So for my lovely wife of almost 26 years, Jeanne Moran, I am Quincy Moran, a.k.a. the Q Dog, and this is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast. But you like that, didn't you?